So in this talk, I'm going to walk you through on what are the operational improvements we got after moving around 200 plus microservices into EKS from ECS, and what are some of our key learnings. So quick introduction about me. I'm an engineering manager at IndMoney for the platform team. I'm responsible for maintaining the performance, availability of platform infrastructure. Previously, I worked with Ticketmaster, Bling, Palo Alto Networks, and certain other things. How many of you are aware about ECS? You've heard of ECS? Okay. So a quick recap on ECS. It's a managed container runtime by AWS. So the purpose of ECS is to really simplify deployment of containerized workloads, management of containerized workloads. So it's actually a very, very great platform for small teams and products that require a quick time to market. But the problem is the platform itself is really limited in capabilities. So it has very limited scaling options. There's very little control over what kind of resources you want to get to your containerized workloads. And the problem is it has really poor infra consolidation. So your workloads can scale up very well, but when it scales down, ECS is not very aggressive in removing nodes. So there's a cost footprint associated with it. Another problem with this platform is it's a proprietary platform, so it's non-coded. So you have things like ECS anywhere and all those things, but you'll not really be able to move around ECS workloads very easily. And if you want to use open source tooling, open source monitoring systems, they're not compatible with ECS. So why we decided to move out of ECS? So one of the key problems for us was high infrastructure wastages. So when I joined IndMoney, one of the key problems was that we had very low utilization on our ECS platforms. So even during peak scaling and highly efficient windows, we were under 60% utilization, and the root problem was poor package. Another big problem for us was we were not able to leverage all the open source technologies. So if you have to go live with a new service on ECS, there's a lot of manual steps involved, there's a lot of effort involved there. You have to create the definition service, target groups, update the load balancer, and multiple other steps involved there. ECS is also not compatible with a lot of popular service meshes. You just have the AWS service mesh as an option. So there are certain limitations there as well. And IndMoney by nature is a stockbroker, and we are one of the few companies which do US and Indian stockbroking with both the offerings. So we have requirements of highly granular auto scaling. So apart from CPU memory, we would require to scale on things like DB load, load balancer traffic, Kafka lag, even impact on downstream services and all those things. So these kind of scalings were not possible in ECS. So we had engineered weird systems where we used to pre-warm the entire infrastructure at 8:30 AM so that market open at 9 could go through and all those things. So these were some of the key problems for us, both from an engineering and costing perspective. So we had some internal debate on how Kubernetes could help us, because lifting and shifting 200 services is a big effort. So Kubernetes is a really proven and market-tested system. It's one of the systems that's powering a lot of open source and large companies. There's native support for declarative workgroups. So if you want to analyze configuration drift, or if you want to audit the workload, it's very easy for us. And there's really rich community support, open source tooling support. You can create unified templates for deployment, monitoring, and all those things. So I already talked about how we did the migration in a previous conference at PlatformCon. You can do that. But what are some of the operational improvements we got out of it? We were able to move to a completely declarative setup with our entire platform and services being managed declaratively. We ended up adopting ROCD, which was a GitOps platform for us, so we could manage drifts, automatically remove drifts, control drifts very easily. We ended up adopting Helm as the packaging solution. So the speed at which we could roll out services was increased manifold. Like we could do experiments, temporary services, and a lot of other things at a much faster pace. And we are able to leverage community components, metric server. So a big problem in our infrastructure was small issues like CPU throttling, network usage restrictions on network usage and all those things. Debugging them on ECS would require platform team to intervene and identify issues. So once we moved to Kubernetes, developers were able to identify these issues on their own. We also use New Relic as the monitoring platform in our company. So New Relic has really good integration with Kubernetes. So developers could manage and understand application level performance after moving to Kubernetes. So once we completed the migration, our infra footprint improved considerably. So we could use Kubernetes specific node provisioning technologies like cluster autoscaler, Carpenter and all those things. So one of the big advantages of these systems is the infra consolidation is really good. So not only can you scale up, you can aggressively scale down and still maintain the vertical backing. So all these advantages were available. Also, because we tried post this migration, we moved almost 100% of our workloads to Spot. So we had availability of constructs like PDBs, topologies, spreads and all those things, which allowed us to run on Spot with much more confidence. So if you look here, before we were, during peak market, we were hardly hitting 8% memory utilization and 36% CPU utilization at the ECS cluster level. So once we completed this migration, we are consistently hitting 60% CPU and 60% memory utilization throughout the day, like throughout our business hours. So the costing impact for us has been huge. If you look at the ecosystem advantages we gained out of this migration, a big problem for us was whenever you are rolling out new services, or even if you're making a service, reviewing that change is very difficult. So today, if stock taking is not working for me, and I have to understand what all changes went through the last week, it's very, very difficult for me. So once we did this migration, we were able to audit changes in a much, much better way. We also ended up creating specialized end charts for different kind of services in our environment, like services, consumers, background workers, etc. So we had specialized end charts and developers could roll out services themselves at a much faster pace. And because we were able to use Argo CD, GitOps allowed us to eliminate any unwanted changes very quickly. Another big gain for us. So another big gain for us was enhanced visibility and monitoring. So apart from understanding things like metrics and logs due to the compliance and nature of business, we are also expected to understand any unwanted connections, any unwanted network changes in our environment. And this was a big gap in our infrastructure from a compliance perspective. So once we completed the migration to EKS, we were able to adopt a eBPF-based solution called Falco. So in the previous slide, I think previous talking we talked about eBPF. Right? So we ended up using Falco. So Falco gives you transparent monitoring of all the traffic in your Kubernetes workload without any effort from your side. So we deployed Falco. We also adopted Wazoo. So Wazoo is an open source XDR SIEM solution and it has native support for Kubernetes event. So we adopted Wazoo, we adopted Falco, and we had a lot of coverage from a compliance perspective on our infrastructure. So I'll just quickly walk you through how it looks like. So on the left, you can see that Falco has alerted me that a bot tried to make a connection to a EKS server. So we have a lot of alerts like this if a bot is trying to connect to a DB or a service which it is not authorized to. So just blocking the connection is not enough for us, even logging and understanding why it is happening. Is our code tampered and all those things? It helps us to give a full visibility into this. On the right side, you can see Wazoo in action. So Wazoo can help you understand what events have happened in your Kubernetes environment. Were they driven by you? Were they driven by GitOps? Or what the platform compromised in some or one or the other way? So yeah, these were the advantages that we gained out of this migration. So yeah, thank you.
Round of applause, please.